Okay, and we are live. Welcome to a new episode of All Things Xbox Podcast. Once again, I got Logan with me. Logan, how you doing this week?
I'm doing pretty good. This is an exciting week and lots of good news out there and lots of interesting developments and life's good over here. How about you, Jeremy? What's going on?
It's been a good week. I'm actually feeling a lot better. For people that don't know, I've been filled with bronchitis for 2 months. It's been a rough 2 months. I keep losing my voice for days at a time. That's why certain videos aren't out yet, which will be soon. But man, bronchitis is the worst thing. I probably is. I went through COVID. I've had certain injuries in the past which were serious. I would trade what I have now for any of that. Like, bronchitis is literally the worst thing ever when it comes to getting sick. Like, oh my god, I hate it. Anyway, but besides all that, before we get into what we've been playing, we may as well just start calling the opening segment of me rambling about wrestling. Because I haven't watched wrestling for 20 years. The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, The Undertaker, Kane, Kurt Angle. They were basically on every single week when I watched. And then all of a sudden I just stopped watching. Fast forward 20 years and, it's all on Netflix now, including all the pay-per-views. So I thought, you know what? I mainly stick to video games. I watch a lot of movies. I'll give wrestling another chance. And I think I'm hooked. I find myself looking forward to watching it each week. And, I'm now looking at the video games. Like, I don't know if they're good now. I know literally nothing about modern, wrestling video games. Back in the day, you had WWF No Mercy, which was the holy grail of wrestling games. Absolutely just perfection. And the Royal Rumble was this weekend on Netflix. I haven't watched one for 20 years. Oh my God, so much fun. It was like 4.5 hours long, but incredible. Haven't watched a ladder match for a long time. Seeing two like Royal Rumble matches during the show, that was cool. They never used to have the women's Royal Rumble back when I used to watch it. It was just a fun show. For people getting at the show right now, no, this isn't a wrestling show. I just want to talk about it quickly because I think if you're someone like me and you stick to video games a lot, it's good to have something else to watch and do because like you don't want to play video games all the time. So branching out, it's been nice because I know Logan, you really into sports, aren't you? Basketball.
Oh yes, and things are going great for my team right now. Top seed in their conference, have a very, very large lead for the number one seed. They're only like a game or half a game, depending on the day, from overall top record in the sport right now. And it's yeah, just going great. The trade deadline's Thursday, so the whole league is acting up and it's wild and fun speculation. And yeah, just I love basketball. I love college football, professional basketball. I dabble in some other sports, but yeah, it's just a nice way to have another hobby and interest to where not all your eggs are in one basket, so to speak. So that when there are some periods that are drier than others, or are man, the news is kind of it's not so positive right now. You can switch focus for a while and let things dust settle and then regroup, and it makes you feel a lot more balanced and happy in general.
Yeah, that's been the weird kind of side effect because I've been watching wrestling. I'm enjoying video games more, which I didn't actually see coming. But hey, it's a good side effect. Um, but I mean, like for wrestling in general, like again, when I haven't watched in 20 years, I've been to two pay-per-views. Um, Back in the day as a kid, but. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. Really enjoying it. But I am looking to try out some video games soon. I know WWE 2K25 is out next month. Um, God knows how many times 2K is going to copyright that video. But yeah, that game looks good. Looks very good. I can't name basically any wrestler outside of maybe four people. Um, But I think, coming back from when I used to watch it, the Attitude Era, they called it, or the Ruthless Aggression Era, like, they were massive personalities. Chris Benoit, I know he did some stuff, Eddie Guerrero, Kurt Angle, like I said, The Rock, Stone Cold Steve Austin, Triple H, the Hardy Boys, all that stuff. It's just nice. I'm enjoying something outside of gaming for a change because, yeah, what can I say? It's been a while. And plus, it's all on Netflix, and it's on at a time that I literally just listen to music. It's a very communal thing I've noticed as well, because back when I watched it as a kid, again, we'll get into the video games in a moment. When I watched it as a kid, like, everyone at my school watched wrestling. Everyone. And, stopped watching it for 20 years, and now it's an online thing. Everyone's talking about wrestling, which I'm really enjoying. Why was Chris Benoit the first name I mentioned? There's actually a funny reason for that. So the Ruthless Aggression Era, I was talking recently about why. I asked my mother, like, why did I actually fall out of watching wrestling? And I mentioned Ruthless Aggression Era, right? And she said something I haven't heard in over 20 years. She used to call that era the Toothless Aggression Era because of Chris Benoit not having a front tooth. And that's stuck with me to this day, and I laugh whenever I think about it. But the Toothless Aggression Era, and that's why Chris Benoit came to mind, not because he did some nasty, horrible stuff. But that's the wrestling segment over. Let's get into what we've been playing. Logan, what have you been playing this week?
Well, I haven't been playing WWE, but I've been playing Indiana Jones. I about to wrap up the Sukhothai section out in the jungle swamps. Um, I just finished the side quest where basically Indiana touches some dart frog residue and trips balls for a while.
That's a good one.
When it was like it was like a PT inspired mission. If you haven't played it, everybody, you will know the mission I'm talking about when you get to it, and it's really good and fascinating. And just finished that part, and I'm doing the main quest now in Sukhothai, and then I just finished Doom 1 and all the expansions for it on the remaster collection. So gonna start Doom 2 soon. And been doing some Balatro, Power Wash. And I tried your workaround trick you told me after the show last time, and I actually got Baldur's Gate to work again. So it I've been really enjoying it, and I'm like, there's a reason I put 40 hours into it. It's pretty daggum good. I've completely started over. I'm a new character, new race, like just trying something different this time. But the catch is I can't play it online and I can't use mods. But you know what? As someone who grew up with an N64 and
Yeah.
GameCube and PS2 and stuff before online was even a thing for consoles, it's not a problem. I can work with it. It's all good. So I'm just happy to get working again. But yeah, that's what I've been playing, man. How about you?
A bunch of different stuff. Death Stranding I've been playing. I'm playing that on and off, and I say it every time. That game is absolutely weird. It doesn't make a lot of sense a lot of the time, and I'm addicted to it. There's these.
It's great.
Yeah, it's great. There's these side missions where you have to deliver pizza. And I always
Spider-Man crossover.
basically, yeah,
Mhm.
and I always wonder because it's always some dude like 2 or 3 miles from like the main base talking about how he wants pizza, and you have to carry the pizza perfectly flat, right? And like you get there, he says thank you, and all I can think is like you couldn't have walked a mile to get your own pizza. Like I'm having to hobble across the entire map with 80 kilograms of packaging on my back, and this dude wants me to carry a pizza. Like, no, I shouldn't be doing this. I'm trying to save the world. I'm trying to get everyone's internet back on, and now here I am delivering pizzas at 2 in the morning. Like, no, I shouldn't be doing this. But outside of that, I'm loving the game. By the way, that game is bloody gorgeous, like stunning. It's not something I hear a lot of people talk about, but it's like one of the best looking games. Kojima.
I'm surprised it didn't cook the PS4 when it first
Yeah,
launched, honestly.
yeah, like that game is like so detailed. But Kojima Productions, they cooked with that game. Like wow. This I'm only on chapter 6, I think 6 or 7. So I've got like half the game to go. But I'm really enjoying it. So good. I've also been playing Sniper Elite Resistance, which launched in Game Pass, I think, Friday gone. I might be in Thursday. Man, that is a good game. I will say this: it does feel like they've taken a step back, just slightly visually, when it comes to it compared to 5. But the gameplay is superb. The best thing about this game, I think, it's actually the best level design of any Sniper Elite game. It's so good to the point where I'm actually spending the extra time to clear out entire levels of enemies. So not just doing the objectives and taking out the target. I literally spent 2 hours in the last mission clearing out all 99 enemies. Because it's just so much fun. So much fun. I think if people want to get into the franchise for the first time, you can basically play the games out of order, so it doesn't really matter. But I think if people want to get into Sniper Elite, this is the one to start with. It's so much fun. The gameplay is more refined. It's just good. What can I say? I think a lot of people will love it, and it's in Game Pass, so why not? I recommend people actually play through Resistance, then play 5. I think 5's levels are slightly more difficult, but yeah. What else have I been playing? Oh yeah, I've been doing a bunch of Indiana Jones collectibles. That game has an absurd amount of collectibles, but they are actually fun in that game. There's actually reasons to find them outside of upgrading your character. And if you get to the end of the game and you think, "Wow, I'm upgrading my character for no purpose," well, we're getting an expansion this year, so you're going to be able to use your upgraded Indiana Jones that way. But what can I say? Great game. I mean, I don't know if I finished it after last week's podcast or before, but either way, I'll say again. Game of the Year 2024. Every single year, I try and go into a year and predict what's my Game of the Year going to be. And I predicted it was going to be Space Marine 2. And then throughout the year, I was like, no, Game of the Year is Dragon's Dogma 2. Fantastic game. Then Space Marine 2 came out, and I played it. Obviously, if you follow me on Twitter, I talk about that game nonstop. I think Space Marine 2 is just, it's incredible. It's what you want from video games like that. And I thought nothing could beat Space Marine 2. That's how good it was. And Indiana Jones, knocked it out of the park. 10 out of 10 for me. This is the 7th game I've gave a 10 out of 10 ever. It's superb. It's superb. What can I say? It is a shame it got snubbed by the Game Awards. I know the Game Awards is held in December because that's when ad revenue is at its highest. And they should really do the Game Awards early in the year. The BAFTA Game Awards do it in, I think it's March. And just give the developers more time to get their games out, because so many games get snubbed, and if a game comes out early in the year, it just gets forgotten when it comes to the award season. I do think, with it being eligible for this year, I don't think it's going to get anything maybe outside of Best Voice Actor. It has to get something. Troy Baker. We've talked about how great Troy Baker is at that role probably about 50 times. But I'll say it again. It's possibly the best performance I've heard in a video game for a very long time. Melina Jurgens in Hellblade 2, her overall performance when it comes to facial capture, emotion, everything is just the best you could possibly see in a video game. But there's something about Troy Baker's performance as Harrison Ford. It's flawless. It's literally flawless. What can I say? I think that I know we'll be talking about the multi-platform stuff later, which people will be losing the marbles over. And granted, I'll get this out of the way. I think people should calm down. Everything's going to be fine. But I think when more people play this, more eyes are on it. Look, it already did well enough on PC and Xbox to the point where apparently Disney got in contact with Xbox to want to do more. So it's already done okay. But yeah, Indiana Jones. What can I say? Fantastic game. I've also been playing a game called Star Trucker. It launched in Game Pass, I want to say, like 3 months ago or something. And it's what you can imagine what that game is. You're a truck driver in space. And it's absurdly addictive. Absurdly. Like, Logan, have you played that yet at all?
I actually haven't, but it's on my list. It looks fun and kind of just chill.
Yeah. It's just a fun game. It's a really fun game. Uh, it can be difficult at times, trying to, you know, pilot a space truck through an asteroid field at full speed, carrying, three truck trailers or whatever you call them. But yeah, fun game. And also the last game I've been playing, and again, I had a massive technical error. Little fun story. So, like, I get review codes for things. I either cover them on the channel in the form of podcast segments. Developers know this. Obviously, like, some games in the future will get their own individual reviews. There's some big games coming out this year. I have big reviews planned for by some big publishers. But I was provided a code by Keymailer for Funko Fusion. Came out in September.
Ooh, that
Yeah, and basically, if people were listening last week, I talked about this massive technical issue. Well, I bought a hard drive for my PC, an external hard drive, basically a non-brand hard drive. My mistake. Never do that again. I bit of a rant. I've bought Western Digital external hard drives forever, right? Like, that's the brand I go to every single time. And the one time I deviate from that, the one time I buy a dodgy hard drive made by a company whose name wasn't even on the box, and it stops working after a week. So that's no one's fault other than my own. I should have thought, why is this 2 terabyte hard drive £20? Like,
that's a good deal.
yeah, I saw the £20 thing and I was like, you know what? That's a good deal. Turns out it was terrible, and I have literally probably about 50 hours of footage just gone. So I'll talk about Funko Fusion now quickly, and then I'll post footage next week in the next week's podcast. But Funko Fusion, the best way I can describe it is it's a Lego-style game in the form of Funko Pops. Each world is categorized into different universes. So you have a Jurassic Park universe, you have a Battlestar Galactica universe, Hot Fuzz has its own universe, and you play as characters from those universes. And they play very much like Lego games, but in the style of a third-person shooter with Funko Pops. It's a surprisingly fun game. It's obviously very family friendly, so if you want to get your kids or just play in general with a game like this, it's super fun. It's one of those games where there's an endless amount of collectibles as well. There are different characters you can download and play as. You can play as characters from Back to the Future. I think I mentioned Hot Fuzz, Shaun of the Dead. Basically, any Universal Studios property, it's in there. The Walking Dead. So yeah, next week I'll have footage during the show, but best way I can describe it for now is it's a third-person, over-the-shoulder shooter, single player in the style of a Lego game, but with Funko Pops. Anyway, that's what we've been playing, and it's been a busy week. Now, normally this show is split up into different segments. We open up with what we've been playing, then we talk for maybe about half the show about current gaming news, usually a bunch of different gaming stories, and then we get into the big topics such as Xbox stuff, and as you can see in the title, Gears of War E-Day, Metal Gear Solid, blah, 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 next-gen Xbox. Well, fortunately this week, we have a lot of really cool gaming news stories, which some went live just before the show, and some of which went live yesterday and 2 days ago. Anyway, let's get into all that news because it's actually been a really good week. So, Battlefield Labs was announced yesterday around, I want to say 5 p.m. UK time. And basically, after the previous fails of EA's Battlefield games, They want to go full on public with the whole game up front from the start. And basically, it's going to be in a long form beta. You can sign up to get into play it whenever it goes live, but you're going to be able to experience and give feedback on the full game. And as someone that's done play tests in the past that I can't talk about, you give them genuine feedback, everything that's wrong with the game, everything that needs to be fixed, things that they could put in the game. You literally mention everything you can to help with the development of this game, because Battlefield has had a rough time. You know, as a Battlefield fan, and a lot of Battlefield fans out there will know what I'm saying, we've went through the ringer. Like, you see people argue online about Xbox and PlayStation, PC, you know, Switch and all this stuff. Like, the Battlefield fans have been through it. And long story short, Battlefield 3 comes out. It blows my mind. It blows a lot of people's minds. It was a next-gen looking game on 360. You know, it was one of the best looking games. You know, it had destructibility in the maps. You know, you had some cool vehicles. It was a hardcore military first-person shooter, unlike we've ever seen on a console. And it was the first time ever where I could actually say that, you know, Battlefield was actually trying to go for COD's, you know, fan base, because it was just so good out of the gate. The map packs were good. The gameplay was great. Everyone loved it. And, you know, they were actually competing with Call of Duty, which was great. And then you fast forward 2 years, the Xbox One and PlayStation 4 come out. And what do we get? Battlefield 4, absolutely broken at launch. In fact, it was so broken, you couldn't save during the campaign. So if you wanted to play through the campaign, you had to sit down and play through it in one go, which was awful if you're me, because I figured that out the hard way, and I think I played the first mission like 40 times. Oof. And that early mission can be very boring. But Battlefield 4 was broken netcode. Hit detection didn't work, and you could be standing in front of an enemy and firing at them, and nothing would happen. Nothing would happen. The multiplayer loadout wouldn't save either, so you had to set up your own loadout every single time you wanted to start a match. That was tedious at best. And, you know, by the time the game was fixed, and it's a beloved game now, but, like, by the time it was fixed, everyone just moved on to other games, you know. Titanfall came out later, Halo 5 came out later, other Call of Duties did, so people just moved on to something else. So no matter how many cool maps they put out, or cool updates, people just didn't care anymore. And then what happens a year and a half later? We get Battlefield Hardline, cops versus robbers. That was a joke. I don't know what they were thinking. The campaign was short. It was very short. Hit detection didn't work in multiplayer. Spawn camping was everywhere. In fact, you would sometimes spawn in front of the entire enemy team at the beginning of a match. I found that out the hard way. And a lot of people like me stepped back and said, I don't want to do this. I'm good. Then they came out with Battlefield 1, World War One game. They removed the campaign and replaced it with, I'm doing air quotes, war stories. And basically they took segments of multiplayer maps and made these like 3 campaign style missions. And they were terrible. It was lazy and I hated them. And I'd say maybe a month and a half after launch, the game, and bear in mind, Battlefield 1's gameplay is superb. Beautiful game as well. But like, it was filled with snipers after launch, which made the game less
World War One is wild.
Yeah, and it was just awful. And the thing is, they had such a gem there with that game, because it was so much fun. But like, people just using sniper rifles on these maps, it was unplayable. And then Battlefield 5 came out, and its visuals to this day are beautiful, like absolutely stunning. And it had war stories again, and these ones felt even lazier. This game had less support, broken netcode at launch. Sometimes you had complete connectivity issues, so you would disconnect from like the game completely, pull you out of matches. And then they came out with, you know, when the Battle Royale thing started kicking off, they came out with something called, I think it was called Firestorm. And it was the worst Battle Royale experience I've ever played in my entire life. And then a few years pass, Xbox Series X and S come out, PlayStation 5 comes out, and they announce Battlefield 2042. Now, if people have been following me for a while, you may be able to remember this. I was clearly falling for the bait. You know, they put out these cool trailers, which said in game at the bottom. They put out these screenshots. I took part in the beta and I realized this was a farce. They sold us a lie. It was broken net code, once again, absolute buggy issues. And, you know, the best thing I can say about Battlefield 2042 is the attachment system. Incredible attachment system. I hope whatever we get in the future with Battlefield has that attachment system. It's very similar to what you get in Crisis 2 and, you know, Deus Ex Mankind Divided. Great attachment system. But the game was broken. 120 players just doesn't work for Battlefield. It just doesn't. And the maps were boring. And sometimes you'd spend an hour in a multiplayer match, and you'd spend maybe 45 minutes of that match running across the map because the maps were so big to accustom the 120 players that they just like made these massive open world maps with like nothing in them to do. So people would rush to a certain location, get killed, spawn back to the empty part of the map, and then run back. It was awful. And, you know, Battlefield fans have been through it. You know, Call of Duty, it's had great gameplay every single year. You know, there's been competitors that's tried to do the thing with XDefiant and stuff, and Battlefield, like, they just can't get their footing. So anyway, fast forward to 2025. I think it was February 3rd. They put out a 4-minute video, and the developers talking about the game, how they want all of their teams to, you know, be heads down, focused fully on this game. And this game's been developed by 4 different studios, one of which is Motive Studios, and I believe they are making the campaign. So out of the gate, we know there's a campaign. Great. Full Battlefield campaigns in the past have been so much fun. And, you know, they have studios on multiplayer. The studios helping with both. So from the onset, it looks like they're doing a good job. So anyway, at the end of this 4-minute trailer of developers talking, there's about 11 seconds, 12 seconds of footage. And let me tell you, they've got my attention. I'm falling for this bait hard. Hard. And it is exactly what I want from Battlefield. It's shiny, super shiny Battlefield 3. Shiny next-gen Battlefield 3. That's all I want. Copy-paste Battlefield 3, shiny graphics, I'm sold. And I say this as someone that I've been out of the game of multiplayer in general for a decade. But they showed me 11 seconds of shiny next-gen Battlefield 3 looking game. My heart sank. I fell in love with this Battlefield game. What can I say? I need it now. I have my ticket to get into signing the beta, by the way. I'm not even kidding, 1,117,000th in line. So I'm going to be waiting a while. I'm hoping I get in tonight to you know, get my beta placement. But all in all, everything shown about this 11 or 12 seconds looks fantastic. Now, Logan, I know you don't give a flying flip about multiplayer. What did you think of the footage, at least?
I actually haven't watched it. That's how little I follow Battlefield in general. Um, like I enjoyed Bad Company 1 and 2, and you know, playing 3 and 4 the campaigns. But multiplayer, like there are only a few games I play multiplayer on. Halo is one of them, and you know, like Smash Brothers, a few other franchises I like have a soft spot for. But for the most part, I'm pretty much a single player guy.
Yeah.
Call of Duty, I'll play multiplayer, but yeah, like, I even saw a tweet the other day. I can't even remember who it was. It might have been Stallion. It was some content creator who put something out that said basically the G-rated version of it was basically EA quit goofing around and just remake or reboot or make a third Bad Company. And that's where I'm at because I actually love those campaigns. They were
Yeah.
hilarious. Loved the characters. The destruction was fantastic. I mean, if you want to get someone like me in the door, for Battlefield, that's how you do it. But for the people who are hardcore Battlefield people, this sounds like a step in the right direction, and I'm happy for 'em.
Yeah, I think there's two different ways they can go with this. Make a super focused military first person shooter like Battlefield 3, or they go the Bad Company route where, the destruction is way more over the top, there's way more action. I think maybe they'll do Bad Company next. Get people in with the very focused, realistic military game, and then do Bad Company. Bad Company was a lot of fun. The destruction in those games were unparalleled. It's like there's an enemy in this building. In most other games, you'd have to run inside. In that game, you could literally plant C4 all over the building and make the ceiling collapse. It was incredible back in the day. I still don't know how they were doing that on a 360. Like, really impressive
That
stuff.
console was a gem.
Yeah. Pretty much one of the reasons why I, at least, reminisce about that console every bloody week. What a marvel. But yeah, it looks like Battlefield fans are finally getting what we've been wanting. And, I'll mention this little bit of salt, which I don't think I've mentioned before. I may have, I can't remember. About 2.5 years ago, EA had a team basically making a remaster of Battlefield 3, but for iOS. Basically, what I'd been wanting, except for not on a mobile device. And it looked so good. And I was so salty because I'm like, you're making this beautiful Battlefield game and it's going to be on mobile phones? Really? But that game doesn't exist now, it got canned. But hey, Battlefield fans, we're getting something good. I hope it's good. And, for people that sign up, give them genuine feedback. I know there's too many people that will just reply saying it's mid. Like, that's not going to help the developers. I was in the beta for Halo Reach, and I gave the developers like this long list of like bullet points and like things they need to change. And I even got a thank you email from one of the developers, because one of the things I mentioned was the blast radius of plasma grenades. My God, if you played the Halo Reach beta back in the day, those things were like nukes. You could be standing basically 40 feet away from a plasma grenade and it would take you out. And it was hilarious though. But yeah, people just need to give genuine feedback. I'm sure. I just hope it's good. And I try to be loudest motorcycle in the world just past my house. But I try to stay positive about gaming because, we're meant to enjoy these things. And like whenever I post about a game, I always get one reply, maybe two, saying, I hope it's good. And I always thought, well, doesn't that go without saying? Like, of course we want it to be good. But like with Battlefield, we've been burnt so many times that I need it to be good. Because like, I keep saying, I've been out of multiplayer for a decade. I'm a single player gamer. I play Call of Duty with my friend once or twice a week. I play Fall Guys maybe once a month now. And I'm kind of tapped out. I don't really do multiplayer. But this got me excited, and I would love to be able to play a Battlefield game on the regular again. So yeah, just thought I'd talk about that because Battlefield's been a huge topic, and the fact that there's over 1 million people signed up, or at least trying to get into the beta, that shows that there is some interest, and Battlefield fans aren't extinct, because, let's be honest, it's been that long. We may as well be extinct. I mean, we almost border in Splinter Cell style extinction here. Okay, maybe not that bad, but still. Anyway, you know what? I didn't actually have this in the topics list, but may as well talk about it quickly. So we got some BioWare news. And, I put this out there, right? I'm afraid of very few things in life. I don't like spiders, right? I'll be honest. I hate spiders. It doesn't matter if it's the ones that's the size of your hand and they live in Australia, or if it's the teeny tiny ones that couldn't even affect you if they tried. Spiders, I don't like them. They've got legs, they've got weird bodies and hairy things. It's not nice. The other thing that scares the living daylights out of me is the next Mass Effect. That thing terrifies me. Because, all the different things like EA has put out BioWare has put out over the past few years, they haven't exactly had the best track record. Anthem, I mean, Logan's talked about this before. Like Logan, you got the was it the digital deluxe edition?
I got the Legion of Dawn Steelbook edition, baby.
Oof.
What a great investment.
Yeah. And like, by the way, another E8 game with broken netcode. Um,
uh,
but like, and I think I got like the limited edition, which is basically just the regular copy with some skins. And like, I didn't play that game after a week. I was like, this is too broken. But like BioWare, they were putting the back foot. It wasn't the best. Then we got Mass Effect. Well, we got Mass Effect Andromeda beforehand, and I've said my piece on that
yeah,
game.
they've been on a roll.
Yeah, and then they put out, Dragon Age: The Veilguard. I will say this: I haven't actually played enough of Veilguard to have an opinion about Veilguard, but I will say I've enjoyed the gameplay from what I've played. I like the level design. They've gone level based design, like the Mass Effect trilogy and Dragon Age 1 and 2. No forced open world, no hinterlands crap. So like, to me, like, from what I played, it's pretty good. Gameplay wise, didn't get really much in the story. But like BioWare, this is their last game. Like, this next Mass Effect game, if they don't knock it out the park, and it's not perfect, and it doesn't reach, like, I'm not even kidding. I think the next Mass Effect game, it has to sell at least 10 million copies to justify them keeping the studio open. They have to produce something Mass Effect 2 style good. That's next to impossible at this point. Almost everyone at BioWare, aren't people from back in the day. A lot of people, I should say most, that worked on Veilguard apparently aren't working on the new Mass Effect. So, depending on whether you've played it or not, that might be good news. The overall consensus is it's very good news. But man, that game scares the living daylights out of me, because I've kind of accepted for the longest time that the trilogy, like, it's always going to be there, right? If something else comes out and it's not that good, it's not going to harm the trilogy. It's always there. But like, the idea of having a new game that's good, like, I kind of really need that in my life, um, and I don't, like, Logan. What's your take on the whole thing? Because BioWare's they've had the ups and downs for years, and we hear that basically everyone that's working on the new Mass Effect game didn't work on the Veilguard.
Yeah, this one hits close to home for me because, you know, once upon a time, BioWare was my favorite developer. Just point blank. Like Knights of the Old Republic, Jade Empire, the Mass Effect trilogy, Dragon Age trilogy. Like, they just put out these iconic characters and stories and decision making and experiences. It's like stuff you'd want to relive over and over and over again because they were so daggum good. And then on top of that, like the books and series and all kinds of spin-off stuff. And like, to this day, Knights of the Old Republic 1 and then the sequel from Obsidian, like, I would say, are probably my favorite Star Wars stories out there. And I'm a diehard Star Wars guy. They were that good. And that's why so many people were had high hopes or so much emotion about the, remake whatever announcement, and then all the drama with that and the idea of a series for it or a show or a sequel. So, like, I revere BioWare of old. But BioWare of old is like BioWare of name only at this point. Like, there are maybe a few people left, but for the most part, the big wigs that were involved in those legendary games are long gone. Like dust on the tracks at this point. And I gotta be honest, like, I really, really, really want Mass Effect 4 to work out and to be awesome. Like, I'm calling it 4. I know Andromeda happened, but like, I think sequentially this would be like a true Mass Effect like 4, basically.
Yeah.
And I really want it to be good, but I really do think this is curtains for them.
Yeah,
Like, there's an open plot with their name on it in the in the EA graveyard if they don't do well with this. Kind of feels like. Hopefully that's not the case, but the vibes are, yeah, I don't know, man. I really hope they get it.
yeah. The weird thing about Mass Effect is that I'm sure everyone in chat right now, if you're on Twitter, and I've seen this on Blue Sky and Threads, a lot on Threads really. Um, there's a lot of people that refer to the next Mass Effect game as 5, right? And
Yeah,
and they don't like it when you refer to the next one as 4. And what I've learned is that there's a subset of gamers online that they 100% believe that the next Mass Effect game should follow Andromeda. Now, um, maybe I'm crazy. Maybe I'm like I'm losing my mind, right? But why would you have why would you have a game that's a sequel to the one that almost tanked the entire franchise? Like after Andromeda came out and ruined my birthday, you know, God, I'll always be salty over that. Thank God I was in a pub. But like Mass Effect was put into hiatus, right? And I lost my marbles on Twitter, right, at the time. I said like, look, if we didn't have a Mass Effect game for 5 years, we get Andromeda, it does bad, and then we told it's going into hiatus as a franchise. And I was like, well, we were already in a bloody hiatus, so like I kind of accepted that the franchise was done for. And then we get the remake, sorry, the remaster trilogy, and it's perfection. I've even got footage on right now. But like when we got the trailer for that new Mass Effect game, and you see Liara and there's characters in the background, like this subset of gamers like, oh, this is gonna follow Andromeda, and they've come back to the Milky Way, and Liara's still alive. It's like, one, yes, Liara would still be alive, but why do we want a game that's a sequel to literal crap? Right? I've always been very fair with Andromeda Online. I don't hate people for playing it, but like my disappointment was immeasurable. My day was ruined. Right? I don't want a game to follow that. And I think, EA's best course of action was call it Mass Effect 4, literally follow the events of 3. And that story leak, there was a story leak about a year and a half ago in some promotional material that apparently a Mass Effect 4 or the next game is going to take place basically a year after the third game, where humanity's trying to fix the mass relays. Like, that sounds like a really interesting concept. And Shepard's going to be back with Garrus and Miranda and Liara, everyone. Tali, who's a fan favorite. I just think that BioWare, like, they have the recipe for perfection. They know what to do. They just have to do it. But can they? And will they? Like, look at Ubisoft, right? Skull and Bones. They literally had, I'm not even kidding, they literally had a literal blueprint of how to make a pirate game. It was called Assassin's Creed 4 Black Flag. And what did they do? The exact opposite of what people wanted. Right? So it's like, why did they make Skull and Bones the way they did? Even though, AC4 is like highly regarded as not just like a great pirate game, but like possibly one of the best Assassin's Creed games, and maybe the best pirate game. And like, we just need BioWare to look at what they've done in the past, make more of that, because so bit of a tangent. Grok, the Twitter AI. I randomly asked it to describe me, right? So while it was doing its loading thing, I thought this is going to be tragic. But it actually described me pretty well and it was quite complimentary. But one of the things they focused on was like my disdain for the current gaming landscape. And I thought, nail on the head. And it mentioned, microtransactions, NFTs, all that crap. The games not working at launch. And, one of the reasons why I always reminisce about the 360 generation is like we got so many good games and we got so many good sequels. and games weren't coming out every Tuesday being buggy. Like, yeah, you would get the occasional buggy game on 360 and PS3, but it was a rare occasion that would happen. You'd never have a broken game at launch to the point where they would put out a day one patch bigger than the game itself when it came to its file size. That was never a thing then. And by the way, patches back then were limited to two gigabytes. So, like, I look at Mass Effect and I look at all the current gaming problems, and I'm absolutely terrified of what the next Mass Effect game is going to be like. Because I get it. I know I may annoy people online with the amount of talk about Mass Effect trilogy, but like since 2007, I've had these three games. 2007, 10, and 12. I've had these three games, nothing else. I've had the comics, I've had the books, I've had the one animated film, which is very nice, Paragon Lost, highly recommend it. But like nothing else in this sci-fi universe I like, and it's one of the reasons why there isn't much Mass Effect content on the channel anymore, because there's nothing to really cover. I do have some videos coming this year about Mass Effect, but like I don't know. I just feel like EA, as soon as they had their mitts on the Star Wars license, they put Mass Effect on the back burner. Like why would you make a let's call it a Mass Effect first person shooter when you can make a Star Wars first person shooter? And look, EA had exclusive rights to making Star Wars games for what, a decade. No one else could make games.
Colossal fumble.
Yeah, no one ever talks about that, by the way. EA had exclusive rights to Star Wars video games for like a decade outside of Lego games. And what did we get in that time? We got Star Wars Battlefront 1, Star Wars Battlefront 2. The first game didn't even have a campaign. The second game had possibly the most disastrous launch of all time, mainly because of how the monetization works, to the point where people believe Disney stepped in and told EA off, right? And then we got Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order, which is an amazing game. And we got Star Wars Squadrons. So, like, in that entire 10-year period, or close to 10 years, we got basically 4 games. Like, that was terrible. And I've always been 100% of the belief that the reason we stopped getting Mass Effect games is because of Star Wars. EA wanted to, pump out games, or wanted to believe that they could pump out games set in the Star Wars universe that would guarantee money. Mass Effect is kind of risky if you think about it. It's an IP that most people don't even know. And yeah, that's just my theory anyway. Hope everyone in chat is having a good time. I'm ranting today about Mass Effect. I see Double Barrels in chat. Hi everyone. I know I'm ranting a lot today, but like I see something as beautiful is that Battlefield trailer, the 11 seconds, and I just have the haunting reminder of what might come with Mass Effect. My brain's all over the place today. I don't know what to say. Look, can you believe that bloody Star Wars license thing? Like, how the hell did that even happen?
I don't know. Like, I don't understand why Disney agreed to that to begin with, but I know it was because they were trying to transition out of having LucasArts games be a thing and then their own development studios and stuff. And they look and they see this big publisher that's got a lot of studios and they're like, oh, surely they can handle it. Maybe that was the thinking. I don't know. But the golden era to me of Star Wars was always that, I know, hit the clock again,
Yeah.
but the OG Xbox, PS2, GameCube, and then entering PS, 360, Wii, and Wii U era, where we had all these Star Wars games coming out and they were mostly really good and they were from different developers featuring all kinds of different genres. Knights of the Old Republic 1 and 2 came out within a year or two of each other. Masterclass RPGs in Star Wars. Like I said, my favorite Star Wars stories ever. 2 of my favorite games ever. All on OG Xbox. Republic Commando, still to this day, the best squad AI I've ever played in a game. Phenomenal campaign. It's so good. If you've never played Republic Commando, definitely play it. It's backwards compatible, and if you don't have an Xbox or want to play it somewhere else, there are some ports from Aspire on that. Um, and then you also had, the Rogue Squadron games. You had all these different Battlefront 1 and 2, the
Yeah.
original ones, which before, that remaster collection
Oh God.
you've talked about. The original ones are still better than the new 1
Yep.
and 2. Like, I will die on that hill. And like and then other ones like that are escaping my grasp, like Force Unleashed 1 and 2. Just so many good Star Wars games, and they were made by all these different people and allowed to release on all these different places. Oh, and then we have, the RTS games like Empire at War and, Galaxy Conquest and all these other things, to where it was a golden era. And then the EA stuff happens, and we get blue balled about this game that was supposed to happen. That was, going to be led by Amy Hennig of Uncharted fame, and it sounded incredible. But then they kept canceling, not canceling, canceling it. Like, basically, we're taking a break with, Ross and Rachel style of this game, and it was just it was a disaster. And then, Battlefront 2 was a cluster cluck of a launch to where Mickey Mouse had to step in and tell them to take a flying flip about what they were doing. And you know how bad it has to be for them to come out of the woodwork and tell somebody off publicly. And all this other stuff, to where now, thankfully, we're in an era where we can have multiple people doing Star Wars again. And I know it's a long-winded answer to the question, but I'm so glad we're revisiting that era instead of the Xbox One PS4 era, which was shameful for the Star Wars and licensed IP in general catalog.
Yep. You know, I see Nick in chat mentioning Dark Forces Jedi Academy. That was a fun game, super fun game.
Oh, I forgot about that one. Yeah, Outcast and
Oh yeah,
Academy were incredible.
yeah. Like that was such a good time. We got one dud, and I will complain about this game at every opportunity. Star Wars Bombard Racing.
The Big Head game.
The big head game, yeah. It was basically a very bad Mario Kart ripoff. It was awful. It was clearly made for online before online because the AI just didn't know what it was doing. So like if people bought that, it was literally a waste of money. Like there's no point of playing it. But that was such a good time. And by the way, if anyone still has a GameCube, I think you can still get this on PC on GOG. Star Wars Rogue Leader. That, not even kidding, still looks great. Like visually, it
It's incredible.
yeah, way ahead of its time. And that was on GameCube. That I think that might be like top 3 GameCube games for me. Like what a time for Star Wars games. And I'm looking at the future Star Wars releases. I'm not even kidding. I don't know if we're getting another AAA Star Wars game on console till 2028. With Star Wars Eclipse.
Yeah, and then we have Survivor sequel, whatever it's called.
Yeah. So like that's 2, but like the reason why there aren't many AAA Star Wars games anywhere near coming out soon is because of that bloody EA deal. Like we were deprived basically a whole generation nearly of like new Star Wars games by different developers. Uh, my God, I'm all over the place today. Like I still don't know how EA was able to get that license as an exclusive because the payoff was not there. And Disney, they make money off these games. So like the fact that EA wasn't putting out the games, like did they not question it? Like do you maybe fancy releasing something good and new? Like I'll never get over Star Wars Battlefront not having a campaign. What a kick to the gonads that was for me. It looked like fun gameplay. The graphics were great for the time. By the way, no campaign. screw you. You know, like I was so insulted by it. um,
Yeah, and 1313 not happening because they shuttered LucasArts to do an EA deal.
yeah. Uh, like
Just,
oh god,
oh my gosh, I just get more mad.
yeah. I think I think Star Wars 1313 is gonna forever haunt people. Like, by the way, this is sad. I know we're talking a lot today about canned games and just me ranting about anything, including the Royal Rumble for some reason. Um, like every so often, I'm not even kidding. Every so often, I actually fire up YouTube and I watch Star Wars 1313 gameplay, and I'm just like, kind of thinking like we could have had this. Like it was
Are
taken.
you like down in a cold drink and sitting in the
Yeah.
rain and just
Oh, like we were deprived of a AAA Mandalorian game made by Respawn. Right, that game was apparently pretty far through development and just canned. Like literal kick in the gonads. Before we continue with me whining about Star Wars games, we have the first super chat of the day. Thank you very much by Nick Wenlin for $5. This is The Fractured Butthole is an awesome game. I still haven't played that yet. I want to get through the Stick of Truth. I think they're both on Game Pass. But like I may have mentioned this last week, Nick. Like I did play the Stick of Truth, maybe the first half where you fight, and I can't say this on the channel, but I'm just dancing around the words. You fight something related to Kourtney Kardashian. Just putting it out there, a boss battle, and my save broke. Like every time I play a game and my save breaks, I want to just put my head through a window and like never live. But I will get to it because the Fractured Butthole. By the way, what a name! Like, I'm surprised they got away with
clever
that.
wordplay on that to get
Yeah,
that approved, by the way.
I will get to the Fractured Butthole eventually. God, that sounds horrible. Though I think South Park really suits those like sort of. Can we call them 2.5D? We can't, can we? We'll just call them 2D. South Park style games. But yeah, I will get to that eventually because South Park, I don't know how they get away with the jokes they do in South Park, and they're the only ones that can. But like, bless them for keep continuing to do this. Like, how many years has South Park been around for? It's been a long time, hasn't it? It's like 20 years.
Oh, it's been around since I was in elementary school. It has to be like golly, it's at least 20 years old. Like
Yeah.
it's no, take it back. It's nearing 30.
Wow.
It's been out a long time.
I didn't know it was near 30, bloody hell. But like South Park, they can get away with basically anything. And I hope we see more games in the future because, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, they were like hands-on with that game. You can tell because of that humor. So hopefully we see something again in the future. I mean, South Park weirdly suits RPG format. And as someone that loves RPGs, what, 26th season? Wow. Wow.
98, yeah.
Yeah,
Or
wow.
96, yeah.
But like the stuff they've been getting away with since, God bless them because, they keep doing it and nobody can stop them. They must have like some sort of, I don't know, tenure at like Comedy Central or something. They just can write and do whatever they want. But yeah, thank you for the 5, Nick. I promise I will get to both South Park games this year, even though the Stick of Truth is censored in the UK, but you can still hear what everything's going on. So when, Stan's father is taking on the alien spaceship and things happen, you hear it. You don't see it, though. Just putting it out there. Oh, yeah, I was triggered about Star Wars. 1313. I watched that gameplay and wow. I don't know how that was going to run on an Xbox One or PlayStation 4. Like, by today's standards, it still looks good. So, who knows? Just to think, by the way, for some reason this week, it's the reminiscent episode, and me triggered a lot. Just to think that Star Wars 1313 gameplay is sitting on a hard drive somewhere, on a server, just minding its own business. ready for someone to play.
That's a National Geographic 3, National Treasure 3, the
Yeah.
plot to get that.
I mean, I'd watch a 2 hour film of Nicolas Cage trying to break into like ILM's like server house. Why not? But yeah, that's Star Wars and me rambling about Mass Effect because why not? Turns out we still have a lot of topics left. Anyway, let's continue. I don't know where today's going. So yeah, Capcom had their live stream about an hour ago. They announced a bunch of new stuff. Onimusha 2 Remaster is coming later this year. Now, I know a lot of people really like and really looking forward to the new one. So this is gonna hold people over. That comes out in 2026. The remaster for 2 is coming out later this year. Super cool times. Honestly, that looked like a huge step up from the original. Logan, what do you think of that? Because I know you like Onimusha.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this. Capcom has been on a roll resurrecting some franchises lately. We had Okami 2 announced at the Game Awards, and then, Onimusha 2 is now, the remaster looks awesome. That they're adding some accessibility and some, gameplay tweaks to make it a little more modernized, but they're gonna stay true to the heart of what it is. Looks great. Can't wait for that. And with Ninja Gaiden back as well, just that old school OG Xbox, GameCube, PS2 era, the the vibes are strong, and I'm loving this not reconnaissance,
Renaissance.
Renaissance. There we go. But yeah, I guess there is some reconnaissance to it too. But I'm just loving this revamp era of all these games coming back, and Capcom, you've got two more. We need these dinosaurs to come back. I know I'm not the only one who's been asking for it. It Good old games is getting it. Surely, at the very least, you could do a bare bones, half baked port of the original 1 and 2, or 3, even if you want to include it, to Xbox to play. Surely it is not that difficult. I
Yeah.
would take that at this point. And then we want Code Veronica, and then you, me, and 10 other people want Zero,
Yeah.
the remake. Let's make it happen.
Yeah, I mean, God, I literally, but we joke about there being 10 fans for Resident Evil Zero, but nobody ever talks about that game except us. It
The
was,
train is so cool.
yeah, it was such a fun game. But yeah, I mean, look, Dino Crisis, man. I can only ask so many times on Twitter. You know what? I'm going to continue to do that, but still, like, why? Yet they touch it, and it's great that they're coming back with all these franchises. The new Onimusha game that comes out next year, gorgeous game, absolutely gorgeous, possibly one of the best looking Capcom games ever. It's like, can we just get that with Dino Crisis? Because look, they've got horror games nailed, right? People love their new Resident Evil games, great times. But all they have to do is literally do what they do now and put dinosaurs in rather than zombies. It can't be that difficult. And slap Dino Crisis on the label. And plus, they could treat it like a new IP because most people have never even played a Dino Crisis game. Dino Crisis came out in 96, 97. Came out a
I
long time
think
ago.
we need to be in a home now, Jamie.
Yeah,
It's been a while.
but like those games were good. But yeah, it's good that they coming out with those games, and also they announced, which a lot of people have been waiting for. Let's see, Marvel vs. Capcom collection for Xbox. This was announced for basically everything else last year. People lost the marbles on Twitter, rightly so. And we found out basically the way that engine works on Xbox and the way compatibility works. That was the hold up basically. Well, anyway, that's available on Xbox today. So if you've been looking forward to your Marvel vs. Capcom stuff, open the store, it'll be there. And if you have that issue where it doesn't show up at all, just do the hard reset and it kind of refreshes the store. That's a thing apparently, but it works. Logan, I know you've been looking forward to this since it was announced.
Yeah, this was another one that I'm glad they brought back because yeah, I know people and it'll be part of our topics later, but some people get a little overboard and a little you know, Twitter fingers happy about some stuff that happens and they go off the handle and get really angry and upset about stuff unnecessarily. But this was an really annoying thing
Yeah.
that it was released everywhere but Xbox. And then everybody's like, what gives? It was like the Pixel remasters even on a bloody Kindle tablet, but not on Xbox. It's like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
It was like one of those. And then you find out, okay, it's because the something about the way it was developed, they're having problems getting it to run on a Series XS for a different kind of version instead of being able to just use a base Xbox One version and then emulate or whatever they do. So they got it worked out and it's here. I'm very happy. And it's currently on sale. They went ahead and did a nice thing and they included it in their, lunar year sale
Oh,
that's
that's
been
good.
going on for Xbox with their other Japanese games that are out right now. So it's $39.99 if you get it soon and it will normally be $49.99. So if it's one that you really want and you got the money for now, it might be a good time to pick it up. It'll probably be on sale again later down the road, but something to think about. I'm glad they rectified that. That was kind of just like a sore spot for a lot of people because the original ones were at the arcade and they were on the OG Xbox. But lo and behold, an Xbox Series was believed to not be able to run them. Like, yeah, come on now. Let's get this dealt with. And they did. Kudos to that. Happy about Onimusha too. Happy for the new entry next year. And let's see if we can get that third one too. I saw tweets about it. I can't remember the actor, but he was in like the professional, and he was randomly in like the '90s Godzilla movie that was a disaster as like some taxi cab driver guy who was actually a French government agent. I can't remember the actor's name, but he's in Onimusha 3, and that'd be fun to get back to.
Yeah, it's good to see these old games come back, and I think it was called the MT Framework Engine. Um,
Okay, yeah. I
and
knew it was something technical.
yeah, and I think that's one of the reasons why was it the Monster Hunter single player games apparently aren't on Xbox. Monster Hunter Stories, that's it. So hopefully those games can come over at some point because I'd be up for playing those Monster Hunter Stories games. There is definitely a market for them on Xbox now, but hey, it's good that they got that sorted. People like Logan said, they're on sale. Pick it up, support the game. I mean, fighting games. If you like the old style fighting games, this is going to be for you, basically. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? We'll talk about this quickly because I've got it in the title, and it isn't base. So Metal Gear Solid. By the way, it says Metal Gear Solid Remake in the title instead of 3 Remake. My bad. But the remake of 3, we'll get to the first game in a minute. The remake of 3 basically doesn't have a release date. Konami's kind of insinuated that it comes out this year. It does come out this year. I've seen a bunch of marketing material. Well, anyway, uh, there's no date set for the game. And a bunch of developers don't basically have any date set for their games because they're all scared of the, almighty, GTA 6. That's why when you see a trailer for any game lately, it just says 2025 because they really want to know when the hell Rockstar's going to do their thing. But Metal Gear Solid Delta, uh, this is going to be a huge game. This is going to be basically a 1-to-1 remake of arguably one of the best games ever made. And normally, when marketing material goes out or pre-orders go live, that's kind of a point towards when developers are going to announce the release date for the game. So Logan added me today, and it turns out that you can now pre-order the collector's edition of Metal Gear Solid Delta on was it GameStop?
Yes.
Yeah, and it's basically like a little terrarium with the backpack hanging from the tree, which happens at the beginning of Metal Gear Solid 3. Really cool scene. $200 for a terrarium. Put it out there. If you're gonna make a terrarium, make one. You could probably make one for maybe £30 or $40, right? Uh, so like this terrarium, it looks cool, but it's $200. Like, so you may be off better making one your own, making one yourself, because again, $200 for a terrarium. No, that's too much. But that could point to it coming out, soon, or being announced soon. Now my prediction is that it's gonna come out in June. Uh, Konami clearly wants this game out sooner rather than later. A lot of developers are aiming for the first half of this year. A lot of big games are going to come out. Like, look at Doom. I honestly thought ages ago that Doom, The Dark Ages, would come out late in the year. But, like, the first half of this year is going to be absolutely stacked. Um, and considering how much they've shown of the game, I 100% believe we will get a release date of this game soon. Maybe at an upcoming Xbox partner partner preview, which they've had actual gameplay announced for the game in the past. So, Logan, what do you think about the whole Metal Gear Solid situation? Because Konami, they've shown off maybe, I want to say 30 minutes of cutscenes altogether, a lot of gameplay, a lot of new features. The game looks basically finished, and then we see these pre-orders go live today with the collector's edition.
Yeah, I have a feeling early summer. I just it feels like an early summer throwback kind of game. So that would be my prediction. But yes, official announcement probably soon.
Yep. And I'd be shocked if they don't announce it for Switch 2 as well. It's one of the reasons why I haven't seen a bunch of like Switch 2 logos on a bunch of games, because apparently Nintendo wants to have the full reveal of the console, even though some developers have went ahead. We'll find out soon enough. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid Remake. We will actually see a remake of the first game. Konami's actually said it. They said depends on how the first game will do. The third game, like Metal Gear Solid Delta, they've called it that for a reason. It's just a marketing purpose, really, because it is technically the first game you should play out of the trilogy. Because it being set like 30 years before the first game, so it's a smart move, and like I can only imagine the reaction of when we will actually see a Metal Gear Solid remake, of the first game. In the first game, for people who haven't played in a while, and I recently finished it in the Master Collection, the first Metal Gear Solid game is hilariously short. Like it's such a short game. Most Metal Gear Solid games are fairly short, but the first game in particular, like I finished it recently in, I think it's 9 hours 4 minutes, and a lot of that were codec calls. So if you take away that, you're looking at maybe 6 hours, 7 hours if you're lucky. The boss fights basically take up huge chunks of that game. I don't know if you've played in a while, Logan, but the first Metal Gear Solid, literally walk to one section, boss fight, walk through another section, boss fight. That's the whole gameplay loop for that game, and I completely forgot about it.
Yeah, it has been a very long time since I played the original one. Like I remember the Sniper Wolf fight.
Yeah.
I remember Psycho Mantis. I remember being captured and them interrogating you and a few other segments, but it's not fresh on my mind.
Yeah. So it's been a while, but like they'll get around to remaking them eventually, and like I think this game's gonna sell really well. It's been so long since a proper Metal Gear Solid game. I mean, hell, the last one we got was Metal Gear Survive, and they charged $10 for save slots. So like people were saltier then, rightly so. But yeah, good Metal Gear Solid games. We're finally getting more. All while Ubisoft sitting in there, behind and not delivering Splinter Cell games. I'm still heartbroken broken about that, by the way. No Splinter Cell.
Yeah, they got some issues to figure out over at UB right now.
Yeah, like this year, by the way, it's going to be 12 years since the last Splinter Cell game. 12 years. Oh my god. Uh, I'm trying not to rant a lot today, but I honestly could yap on about Splinter Cell for hours. But that's Ubisoft. Anyway, we'll move on. But yeah, Metal Gear Solid, we're probably going to hear about a release date fairly soon. If I remember correctly, Xbox partner previews are in early March. So I'm just guessing that's when we'll get the release date. Anyway, Square Enix was talking about Rebirth sales, and that, like, look, they said the sales were good. Didn't really meet their expectations though, because Square Enix, they do have lofty high expectations for their sales. Their recent release on PC is apparently sold pretty well. I think there was a lot of people playing on Steam concurrently. The PC port looks really nice. They've done a fantastic job with that version. And I've been seeing on Twitter, by the way, I've been doing this joking thing, and some people have thought I've been serious. I've been posting a very particular, I've been posting a Final Fantasy GIF at a very particular time each day, just as a joke to get a reaction from people. And people are being proper serious and like nasty in the replies sometimes. Like those games aren't ever coming to Xbox. It's like, I'm just having fun. Like, there's genuine excitement for JRPGs in the Xbox community. Like, who doesn't want to love to see that, But like, my prediction stands. I do think we'll basically hear about Final Fantasy 16 for Xbox in March at the partner preview, and 7, the remake, will be announced for Switch in April, and then like 10 minutes later on Twitter, you're going to see the social media post with the Xbox logo in. Basically, what we see after every direct. So, like, that's my standing for the Final Fantasy games on Xbox. It's been a long time coming, and look, I'll put it out there. Like, I haven't watched or paid much attention to Final Fantasy content in general because I'm looking forward to playing these games on Xbox. It's just we're having to wait. Evidently, it's been years. Logan, what have you got to say about Final Fantasy? Because like, even though there's been no news, like every time Square Enix talks, they keep insinuating that the games are coming to more platforms.
Yeah, it's like an open secret at this point. Kind of like when everybody knew Playground was working on Fable for years.
Yeah.
And then they finally announced it, and then this developer said, "I'm so glad I get to finally talk about what I'm working on." And everybody's like, "Yeah, fam, we already knew." But yeah, I'm excited for it. I can't wait for them. I still am thinking 16 will hit before 7,
Yeah.
but I think we will get 7 before too long, probably later this year, and then Rebirth the next year. And I'm glad it's doing well on PC because I know it blows minds, but the more places games are available, apparently it does make these companies some money to where they can do some stuff. So maybe the whole taking pockets of money from Sony wasn't such a great idea after all.
Yeah. We're going to see less and less third-party exclusivity for these games. It doesn't make any sense, And one of the reasons why that marketing deal never really made sense, or exclusivity deal, like if no one on Xbox was going to buy Final Fantasy, why would they have to pay to keep it off the console? like
Exactly.
that never made any sense. Maybe it's because of the groups of people I've talked to online, but like there's a lot of excitement for JRPGs on Xbox. Like hell, I see a lot of people talking about Persona specifically all the time. Metaphor, Fantasio, Yakuza. People really love JRPGs on Xbox. Like there's a lot of like diversity when it comes to different genres, and JRPGs we're just getting more. I mean, there's more Japanese games announced for Xbox coming to Xbox this year than we've had in years. So like, there is money to be had there, and I've used this analogy before, but I'll use it again. Or example, like Death Stranding is a multi-platform franchise, and it made bank for Kojima Productions in 505 games, because when that came to Xbox, it was number one in most countries, and it was a £17 game. Like, they must have sold so many copies. I would love to know the exact sale figures for copies, because that store goes off revenue, not copies sold. So yeah, I do think that when they launch the remake in 16, they have to be fair with the price. Like I think full hog launching these games at £70 and $70 will be a colossal mistake, because
Hmm.
I checked the remake price on Steam last night. It's let me, I think it was £35 for Final Fantasy VII Integrate. I think it's called. Like £35, I think is a very fair price for a 5-year-old JRPG. Perfectly fair. Um, but yeah, I think there's a lot of excitement there. Hopefully, Square Enix does the right thing with prices, because like Logan, you don't see them launching that at full 70, a 5-year-old game.
I've learned not to question what Square does. Like they do crazy stuff. So I don't know. I would think they would be smarter than that now, and that they've learned their lesson, and to that they would launch it at a reasonable price. But I, I'll say that I think they are much more likely to release it at a fair price, or launch it, where it's traditionally 70, but it might be 50% off for a launch window or
Yeah.
something like that. Like they did with the Pixel Remaster Collection.
Oh yeah.
And I could see maybe that potentially as like a middle road option, but I don't think they would do that. I think they'll more likely do it at a reduced price to launch. But again, you never know. But I do think they are less, shall we say, um, I guess greedy than, a Take Two or a EA or some of these other, like, have the balls to suggest $100 for a title day one. Like, I even think Square has standards above that.
Yeah. I will say this though, that I've mentioned this before. Who's the publisher of the Ni no Kuni games? Is it Bandai Namco?
Yeah, how on earth is that still 80
Yeah.
flippin' dollars for a digital edition?
Yeah, that's the first $80 game, and like it's 80. I think it's £85 in the UK. I'll have to check, but like £80, that's about $97. like, like nobody talks about that. Like, how are they getting away with charging that price? You can play it on Game Pass. Yeah, Bandai. Thanks. But like Bandai are charging £80 for this game, and I think Ni no Kuni 2 came out in, I want to say, 2018. Like, what were they thinking? Come
You
on.
were tripping thinking that price is. I have no words for. Yeah, it is ridiculous.
Yeah, like they must have been smoking something, because that was just bad. It's like, what were they thinking? But yeah, hopefully, Square Enix to do the right thing, good price, it'll sell. I mean, hell, Death Stranding has had the perception of being a FedEx dude simulator, and it's sold really well. Turns out people are willing to, buy good games at a reasonable price, especially in today's current climate. I mean, hell, can you imagine how many copies they'd sell if they do the Death Stranding thing where it's £17? Like, whew.
Oh my gosh, it would fly off the shelves, and it would be just. It would be number one, and then you could finally put to bed the whole Xbox doesn't buy Japanese games. Or, they're not gonna play Final Fantasy or whatever. It's like, homie, this is
Yeah,
trending number one. I guarantee you, if they did it 50% off at launch, it would be in the top 10 at worst, maybe top 5. Like, it would be selling ridiculously well based on name alone,
yeah,
name recognition alone. Just put Cloud's face on something and Final Fantasy 7, boom, you're selling a lot.
yeah. So hopefully they do the fans right. Anyway, we'll move on. You know what? This story kind of went live maybe a few hours before the show started, and that's there was some more multi-platform games announced, and funny enough, I've seen some people act like it's the end of the world, but I've seen more celebration over this on the Xbox side, and that is Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition and Age of Mythology Retold are coming to PlayStation. Now, I'm one of these people. I've played RTS games for since I was a kid, right? Like I used to be obsessed with Star Trek Armada 1 and 2. Homeworld 1 and 2. Like Homeworld 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. Star Trek Armada 2, one of my favorite games of all time. Star Wars Empire at War was so much fun. Even though my PC clearly couldn't run the thing properly. Like it was like I was thinking it was like 10 frames per second. But like it was a fun game. And like, Logan, did you ever play um Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth 2?
I actually never played that one. It was on my request list for BC, but we never got that one. But it's one I have had interest in.
Like that game, if people have a 360 or you have it on PC, like fire up that game. It is possibly the best Lord of the Rings game. Like it is incredible. Like I must have put maybe 1,000 hours into that game, and I didn't play it online. So like I maybe had issues, maybe I was addicted to it, but it was such a good game. Like if you wanted, you could literally have your entire side just be Ents, the trees, and just play that way. Like just it was so good. The different amount of units you had in the game. Anyway, what am I talking about? Oh yeah, PlayStation. So those Age of Mythology games and Age of Empires, they go onto PlayStation. RTS games are very niche. So like I've noticed on the Xbox side of things, there's a lot of Xbox centric players, or sorry, Xbox players that actually play PC centric games, RTS games, simulators, that type of thing. I don't know how an RTS is going to sell well on PlayStation, but with that being said, as niche as they are, them being on more platforms is really good for the situation. Because look, is anyone really going out there to buy an Xbox for Age of Empires Definitive Edition? Like, no. And I like Age of Empires. It's a fun RTS. It's actually got a super easy tutorial, easy to understand. If you want to get into RTS games on console, I think Age of Mythology and Age of Empires 2 Definitive Edition are great ways to get into RTS games. But like, I honestly don't think there's many, if any, RTS games on PlayStation. So that's gonna fill a gap in the market. We do know when certain games went to PlayStation last year, such as Sea of Thieves, Grounded, Pentiment, and Hi-Fi Rush. Like Sea of Thieves was basically the only one that charted. Like a lot of people bought into that game, so like they'll basically judge off what they'll do off future ports of those sales. But I mean, as a fan of those RTS games, I hope they do well because look, if you're an RTS fan on console. On Xbox, you have a selection. You have the Age of Empires games, you have Age of Mythology, you have Halo Wars 1 and 2, you have Supreme Commander 2, underrated game, by the way, and a few other
Hmm.
like indie ones. But outside of that, RTS games are super rare. We don't get them on console that much. I keep trying to port beg Homeworld 3 on console. It will never
Good luck with
Yeah, like
that.
as someone that played Homeworld 1 and 2 back in the day as a kid, like let me tell you, like I know for a fact you could never get that game to work on a controller. You couldn't if you tried. But I'm still port begging that thing. I would. It's basically I have 3 games on my PC, and one of them is the collection. The remaster collection. So of Homeworld 1 and 2. But yeah, I want people to buy into these because like I want more RTS games on console, and those developers proved, and they did with Halo Wars, like you can have an RTS game work on console perfectly fine. I mean, hell, even though there were different developers, Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth 2 literally played the exact same way. You do the circle highlight thing by pressing an A, it literally did the same thing. My take is that it's not the end of the world. People are acting out on Twitter. It shouldn't surprise me at this point. But look, Logan, what's your take? Because again, RTS games are very niche, and we don't actually have many as it is. So these games going to PlayStation could actually do some good.
Yeah, I agree. Like RTS is a very, like you said, niche genre. especially on console. Like PC, there is like
Oh
an
yeah,
unseemly amount of them. Like there's so many to where it's like overwhelming, and like you said, like with Homeworld, there are some that are so complicated.
yeah,
It's like, oh my gosh, a new language. Like, what is this? Um, but then like some of these are more streamlined and more accessible to entry for people. And I especially have a soft spot for Age of Mythology. It was my first RTS franchise to really get into, got me into the genre. I love it. The remake is fantastic. The new expansion is coming soon as well. I believe the Chinese mythology one.
yeah, yeah. I think if you want an RTS on console, that's basically what we've got for now. Um, I know. I still think, by the way, we will see StarCraft 1 and 2 on console. Um, I do think
Yeah,
that would be announced at the Gamescom, where RTS games in Europe are huge. Why not announce it there? I mean, hell, me and Logan, we've been port begging StarCraft for what seems like forever now. you know?
they
um,
had it on N64 with a three-legged controller. They
yeah,
can get it running on a Series X. Like, I don't want to hear this bull crap.
yeah,
They can make it work.
yeah. I always forget about that game. Like, yeah, on an N64, and it works. In fact, Age of Empires 2, I think it was the original Age of Empires 2, or it might be in the first one. That was also on the original PlayStation 2. So,
Yeah, it's already been there.
yeah. So, like, hey, this will lead to more RTS games on console. I don't care when. I don't care how. And by the way, I was checking while Logan was talking there. It turns out there's no way to buy Lord of the Rings Battle for Middle Earth 2 online. It's not on
That's a
GOG.
big shame.
Yeah, it's not on Steam, and it's like, and bear in mind, I'm saying this as a console guy. Like, if that game was available on Steam or GOG, I'd buy it in a heartbeat. What an absolute travesty! And I talk about backwards compatibility a lot. So does Logan. Like, I used to backwards compatibility beg for Battle for Middle Earth 2. There's currently no way of playing it. What an absolute shame. Uh,
Licenses suck. I know why they exist and why they're necessary, but this is the cost of them
yeah,
in some instances, and it's a massive shame
yeah.
that people can't play something because of quote unquote reasons.
Yeah, I mean, I'm checking right now because it got me thinking, because maybe I'll buy some RTS games on console, or sorry, on PC. Right, if people are interested, yeah, this is apparently me talking about RTS games on PC segment. If people are interested in RTS games and you happen to maybe play some games on PC, let me see if it's available. Oh, okay, here we go. Star Trek Armada 2 is available on GOG.com and it's £6. My God. What a game! Um, I'm not even kidding. I think I sunk maybe 1,000 hours into this, maybe like 2,000. I had some multiplayer matches on that RTS. Not even kidding. Yeah, it was a year. Uh, I had some multiplayer matches back in the day, playing Star Trek Armada 2. I'm not even kidding. We're over 3 hours long. Yes,
It's
I'm
like
not.
a flipping siege.
Yeah, like it was rough. It was like actual Starfleet battles, like from DS9. Fuck, amazing. Try not to swear. But like absolutely amazing. Anyway, that's enough about RTS games. But yeah, I hope we see me on console because again, the selection on console as it is on Xbox, you've got 7, maybe 8, and on PlayStation, I don't even think there's any. I can't name any at all. But yeah, we'll move on. You know what? I know you want to talk about this, Logan. More Xbox games are coming to cloud.
Yeah, I thought it as somebody who has a cloud device,
Yeah,
I should get royalties at this point as much as I
basically,
talk
yeah,
about that LG thing. But but I love my LG device, and it lets me play, own games in another room while someone else is using the TV, or if I just need to be in a different room to deal with something and I also want to play a game while I'm there, and I can. And it's a really good experience and device. And they added a bunch of new games, including Subnautica 1, and then like the sequel, but not called 2. Subnautica, like
Yeah.
Frozen Arctic thing. They added that one. They added gosh, it was a pretty substantial list. About the same size as the first batch, maybe a little bigger. But yeah, check it out on Xbox Wire, and it it's good to see that they're developing a regular cadence. And essentially, it seems like every couple months, maybe eventually down to a month or every few weeks, they're going to release a batch of these. Not as regularly as we used to get with BC, like every Tuesday, Thursday, but soon you will have be able to look forward to Xbox Wire or Stein or whoever from Xbox tweeting out regular updates on now available for cloud streaming if you have Game Pass Ultimate and new titles to look forward to. I really, really strongly suggest Xbox, if you're listening, make a user request um, thing out there to where people can request specific titles or genres because Metroidvanias
Oh
work
yeah.
on these things like nobody's business. Boomer shooters, chef's kiss. They're perfect for these. Horror games, absolutely. Especially retro style ones. Like Night Dive alone should be like a top target to call. Or maybe they have, but Night Dive and several studios like that, you should call and try to get their whole catalogs on there because people like the games these people do and they would work on these and they would do very well. And I'm super excited about it. And I really like the future Xbox is going. There are some things they do that still annoy me, but for the most part, I'm pretty happy with the direction of some stuff.
Yeah, the cloud stuff's good, and like you said, they should have a web page where you could, vote on each game, like they did with backwards compatibility. You could like
Hmm.
vote on like I remember Black Ops 2. I think was the most voted game for backwards compatibility. And I used to be salty because I'd be like, why are these people aren't they not clicking on Mass Effect 2? Like, like, what are they thinking? And I 100% take the credit for Assassin's Creed Rogue being backwards compatible and Splinter Cell Blacklist. I 100% take credit for that, because I'm being modest. Anyway, uh, but yeah, that would be a good idea if they did that. And cloud's getting more popular. I mean, especially in places like Japan and Korea, like where people are on handhelds a lot. Handhelds are getting more popular everywhere. Like almost all of the cool devices announced at CES. Uh, were basically handhelds, be it native PC handhelds or streaming devices. Like the handhelds really picking up steam, even if it is streaming. And having more games available is great. I mean, people have been asking for their own games to be streamable for years. Why not? The surprising thing is that Square Enix are clearly on board. Like I thought they would be.
Oh, they love it.
Yeah, I thought they would be one of the holdouts that wouldn't, sign up for it. Um, you mentioned the BC list thing. Like, I think it was like once every like other Tuesday or something. We used to get a BC list by Major Nelson. Uh,
Hmm.
and they did that for a few months, and then they start doing them just whenever they were available. But I remember, I don't think I've mentioned the story. Like, I was campaigning for certain games to be backwards compatible, and I remember I was in a pub. Shocker, I know. I was in a pub with two of my mates, can't speak today, and I haven't been drinking. And I literally looked down at my phone, and it said Deus Ex Human Revolution available. And I'm not even kidding. I jumped out of my chair, and everyone was looking at me. I was so wanting that game to be backwards compatible, and my God, they did a fantastic job. By the way, if people haven't played Deus Ex Human Revolution, play it now, please. Plus, it was a
It's
free
like
game.
$2.99 on sale right now. I think one of them is.
Yeah, it's on sale all the time. It was also just a random free game at some point. But my God, I love that game. But yeah, hopefully they add more cloud stuff and allow people to vote for titles because obviously people are gonna click on Call of Duty straight away. But like you said, Metroidvania games like those are basically made for handhelds. I mean, hell, the whole thing basically started on handhelds if you think about it. Anyway,
Mm-hmm.
we'll move on. We still have a bunch of topics to go over. You know what? Um, oh yeah, this is cool. So the Xbox ID show was announced for February the 24th. It's going to be on IGN. They had a similar show last year. And there's a bunch of cool indie games usually announced at these. Now, there's one game in particular I want people to pay attention to, and I've been yapping on about this game for maybe a year. It's called Jump Ship. It's an indie game made by a tiny team of people, but visually it's stunning. It's a brand new first-person sci-fi game where basically you can play in solo or up to 4-player co-op, and you basically have to defend your ship going through different star systems against robots. Just watch the trailer when you're done listening to this show. It looks so cool, and there's even parts of this game where you can have one person piloting this massive starship through an asteroid field, being chased by robots, and you can have other people standing on the hull of the starship, firing laser guns at the robots. It's such a cool game, and we're gonna get more footage at the ID show on IGN on the 24th, and that's a game made by I think like 8 people. There's some really cool indie games out there. We've talked about this on the show a lot. Like the really interesting games are coming from indie developers in AA, and we're going to see some really cool games on that show. Logan, I know you wanted to talk about it because there's going to be some cool stuff there. But for me, it's mainly Jump Ship.
Yeah, I'm really excited for this, and like you said, creative wise, AA and indie developers are the ones who are grabbing the industry by the reins and going, you know what? If y'all are creatively bankrupt, we'll just do it ourselves. And they've been doing a fantastic job. I've spent more time with indies this past year or two than I have with AAA's, to be honest. Um, and I've played a good bit of the major AAA's, but it's just something different about how they handle and are doing things, and it it feels refreshed instead of AAA slop like we talked about last time. And I'm excited for it. Like I know Phasmophobia was had its official release around one of these indie showcases and several other well-known indies. I know Thunder Lotus is teasing that they'll be there with 33 Immortals. So if you're interested in that game, it definitely tune in. And then I remember Boomstick and somebody else posted something earlier today that they noticed that was kind of like, wait a minute, that's odd.
Oh yeah,
Is that Miles Morales from Spider-Man was randomly in the trailer. And or maybe it's just another character who kind of looks like him from a game, which it can happen. But still, the fact that it looks basically identical, if it's not him, it's really weird. And also, why would he be in it unless Sony is deciding to finally open up more and maybe put that spin-off game? Maybe they don't want to put full on Spider-Man yet, but what if they started with Miles Morales as a kind of foot in the water, Marvel kind of nudges them ahead kind of title?
yeah, that is a weird one. So for people that don't know, if you watch I think it's like a 30-second trailer for the ID at Xbox show. If you pause it at 2 seconds in, you see an obvious picture of Miles Morales from what's it called, Into the Spider-Verse, the movie. Like, why would that be on a Xbox showcase? Like that made no sense. I don't know if there's any like indie game that's a spin-off from that. I honestly don't know what that could be, but obviously we'll find out. Or maybe it's just the editor messing with people. You never know. But yeah, that should be a show people should watch. Again, Jump Ship. I swear to God, it's one of the coolest looking games. And as someone that like is craving sci-fi games, basically 25 hours a day, yeah, that game looks good. Anyway, we move on. Oh, you want to talk about the slogan because it is actually going to be a big deal. It's going to affect everyone. Uh, the new Valve console. It looks like there's going to be something announced really soon. And, they already have the handheld unlock. Steam Deck basically changed the game, let people know, hey, people are actually interested in handhelds that aren't just made by Nintendo. Well, it looks like there's going to be a Steam Box announcement or a console announcement that's basically going to be everything that a Steam Deck does, just made for a television. And, I think this could be the disruptor in the industry because video games are super expensive. Hell, you have developers talking about the prices going up. Games launch broken half the time. Games are filled with microtransactions, battle passes, season passes, all this crap. On PC is a very open platform. You can have different stores. I mean, you have mods, you have emulation, you know, basically access to unlimited content. And if you're a console gamer and they release if Valve release a console like PC, like that could be a really big disruptor in the industry because the Steam Deck has console players buying it and they have no problem playing games on the thing. So if you have a PC or that is basically a console, it might get a lot of people's attention. In this time where you can get PlayStation games on a PC and you can get Xbox games on a PC. So I bet Microsoft and Sony right now are looking at this future Valve console that's going to be announced and thinking, oh crap. Because while people like me, like I prefer Xbox, I prefer the ecosystem, all this stuff, like this could be a viable thing for people that maybe want to play both kinds of games. What do you think, Logan?
Yeah, I have a feeling this is like a new challenger approaches. Like you see the Smash Brothers and the alarm and it's a black silhouette and then it's like Gaben appears. And then it's the new Valve console and I've learned not to doubt Steam and Valve. Like pretty much everything they put out turns to gold. Like they've had a few things over the years that haven't been as good as others, but for the most part, like they know what they're doing, then they're incredibly good at it. And the idea of a console from them, like if I wasn't already invested in the Xbox ecosystem, and also have PlayStation consoles as well that I built a library and digital profile that'll carry forward. Then honestly, like the idea of a Steam console is very appealing, like for new entrant people in particular, especially with Xbox and PlayStation putting all their games on Steam anyway. It's like if I don't want to be one of those just buy a PC or just build a PC guys, and I want a console, but I want to be able to play some of the PlayStation games and the Xbox games as well, then sounds like a really good option for those people. So I am very curious to see what it is and what it's like.
Yeah. It will be interesting because, like, given its price, I might actually look at the thing as an RTS box, like, because
Yes, Homeworld.
yeah, like oh my god, if I could talk about Homeworld all day. I'm biggest nerd available here, but like I would love to just buy a box where I could just play these RTS games. Like, don't I've accepted Homeworld's never coming to console. It's not happening. I'll still ask for it to come, but I mean, a little box like that, and you also have the Steam exclusive games. Like, will Half Life Alex be ever made for other consoles? I highly doubt it. Who knows what's going to happen down the line? I think it's weird. The console space is very weird at the minute. The gaming space is very weird. You have Xbox putting games elsewhere. PlayStation's putting games elsewhere. Like, look, they put a game out last year on Switch and PC the same day with the Lego Horizon Adventures. Whether people liked it or not doesn't matter. The fact it happened. I think considering the way games are like going up in price when it comes to like making them. Maybe developers just need to get more of a rein on development costs, but like developers are more concerned about making their money back on all platforms than having a game tied to one piece of hardware. Like, I'm an Xbox fan. Like, Logan's an Xbox fan. Like being in the ecosystem, I get a lot of benefits because, like, look, when those Age of Empires games were announced for PlayStation like 3 hours ago, 2 hours ago, I saw underneath the Age of Empires official post like what the Xbox fans get, and like we literally had that showcase like last week or the week before. Like, we know what games are coming this year. I think what Phil Spencer said was kind of right. Like, the reason why people are going to want to buy into a console is going to be the unique features of that hardware. It used to be video games, and it still is. Like, if you want to buy a Switch 2 and Mario Kart's going to sell like 90 billion copies. But like, if you Xbox and PlayStation, you're looking at like how much those games cost to make. Like, why not put them on other platforms? It is weird, the gaming space at the minute, because like seeing Halo on a PlayStation would be weird. Hell, even seeing God of War on an Xbox would be weird. Like, I've been playing Death Stranding a lot. Do you know how weird it is when I fire that game up and it says Sony Interactive Entertainment? That's weird. Sometimes I have to look down at my hands and think, oh yeah, I'm holding an Xbox controller. It's weird. The times are odd. Now, will Xbox... I've seen the Xbox Steam thing. I've talked about in the past why I don't think that might work. Just because, like, wouldn't you want an Xbox version of a game to be on the store? Who knows? It's a weird time. As long as people have reasons to, still be part of the Xbox ecosystem. Like, look, Xbox, they don't charge for cloud saves. They have backwards compatibility going 4 generations, including the current generation. Like, you get free upgrades for your games. Like, you get achievements. I prefer the Xbox controller. Like, they'll continue that. They'll continue getting third-party support. Just like you have Steam stepping into the console place. It's weird. It's very weird. It's just something we have to get used to. I will say this, though. I think Nintendo, they won't do this. They'll never do this. I think, with the Switch 2 coming out in the next several months, and, we're obviously going to see, I assume it's going to be called Mario Kart 9. Like, can you imagine how much money Nintendo would make if, right before the Switch 2 launches, they put Mario Kart 8 on Xbox, PC, and PlayStation?
It would be unholy amounts of money.
Yeah. Like, that I think Mario Kart 8 is sold, Deluxe is sold, I think it's 68 million copies. It's an absurd number of copies. Like, a disgusting amount of money. That is, Scrooge McDuck jumping into a pile of gold coins, type of money. But like,
Animal Crossing, the next Animal Crossing is going to be just unseemly as well.
Yeah, like they literally may as well have a machine that prints money, because those games are going to sell ridiculous. But yeah, I always thought, like, maybe what if Nintendo ported their old games like Mario Kart? It won't happen, but you have all these other companies trying to make kart races, and none of them take off. Because, do you know why? Because Mario Kart will always play better. No one would buy... I think people would still buy a Switch 2 for Mario Kart 9, because people have been playing the same, several... I think there's like dozens of tracks in Mario Kart 8 for a decade now. Mario Kart 9 is obviously going to have some unique thing. Maybe there's transforming vehicles like in the 3DS one, or it might have been the Wii. It's been a long time. But there could be some really cool thing that changes up the way that game plays. It's just going to be an
I
exciting
know
year.
the glider was a big change.
Yeah, the glider. But like, who knows what like the next year is going to have. I mean, I put it this: it's the beginning of February. We know there's a successor to the Switch 2 coming out. Valve is making what seems to be a console style box. Xbox they haven't a handheld and a console coming out. Essentially, we think next year. PlayStation, I mean, they have the Pro out now. Their next console is maybe 2028. But like the amount of games coming out this year, it's ridiculous. I have a database of games coming this year. nobody's going to be left for wanting video games. Like, it's going to be an excellent year. So yeah, you're going to have people online losing the marbles, changing the profile picture to maybe a PlayStation character because they can't handle certain things. You're going to have people like fall out with each other. Like, hell, I've talked about this before. I mentioned this earlier in the day. Like, there's people I was friends with on Twitter for literal years. Literal years. And when that stuff happened last January with the business podcast, like Phil Spencer did, like, these people turned their backs on me. They literally changed profile pictures, start calling me names, saying really nasty things which I can't repeat online. But like all over because I just prefer to play games on a different box. Like the gaming space is weird. I'll mention this quickly. Gears of War ED. There's been some rumors and speculation. There always is in gaming. That there'll be multiple different Gears projects in the works. The Gears of War ED, I think that's coming out next year. Nothing I feel was pointing out to it coming out this year. Now, getting people set up for the new game with a collection of games, the trilogy, I 100% see that happen this year. Xbox, they really didn't really want to do remasters or remakes for the longest time. It's almost like they came out with Gears of War Ultimate Edition in 2015, and then they just didn't return to doing remakes. Not really. And now they clearly want to do stuff like that. Oblivion is happening. Virtual Studios, they've had multiple different studio leaks. Like, we are getting Oblivion some point in the next few months. It's happening.
Fallout 3 probably too.
Yeah, Fallout 3, and I will yap on about that game non-stop when I come. My God, if they come out with Fallout 3 and it has a fixed third-person camera with decent third-person combat, I won't be online for a month. Like, I'll be in that game constantly. But Xbox, they clearly willing to do that stuff now. And the best part is people have access to the originals that also have upgrades. I think it's going to be an exciting year for video games. You also have GTA 6, which, like, there's been some speculation whether that's going to get delayed or not. I mean, look, none of us here can say we think this game or know this game's going to come out when and where. Rockstar, they are the most secretive developer in the entire industry. Literally, no one could predict anything. People were predicting or trying to figure out when a new GTA trailer was coming out based off individual screenshots in a GTA Online trailer. They were looking at the shapes of trees and trying to correlate it to certain dates, right? Like Rockstar fans, they went wild with that speculation, wild. But like we don't know when that's going to drop. Traditionally, we get one trailer a year and then they release the game. But we didn't get a trailer last year at all. So, like, when is GTA 5 GTA 6 getting a new trailer? We don't know. Who knows? Like, Logan, even though we don't know anything about GTA, when do you think that'll actually happen?
When do I think the trailer will happen or the game actually releases?
Both.
I think a trailer, let's see. I think a trailer in April. I don't know why, just a hunch. And release late summer.
Yeah. Yeah, I could see that happening. I think, the second this game gets a release date, like, a lot of developers are either going to be really happy or really sad because, like, when that game comes out, there's going to be basically a month where there's no other game releases. Unless you're like a vastly different genre that's guaranteed to sell, like a Call of Duty or, a Mario Kart, for example. But it's going to be a weird year for video games. Now, if that game does get delayed to 2026, let me tell you, every publisher on the planet, they are going to be so happy with that because, again, the reason why we don't have certain trailers for certain games yet is because they're wondering when GTA drops. Ideally, they want their games to release by the end of the year because that way it'll make the quarterlies look good and all that stuff in next year's financials. So, like, they pretty much, I bet all the executives at Ubisoft, EA, all them, they are praying praying for GTA to get delayed. And, we will probably find out if it's going to get delayed in the next trailer, whenever that may drop. And the thing about Rockstar being Rockstar, they can pretty much drop that trailer at any time they want. No warning.
Random Tuesday.
Yeah, no teasers for the game, no little tweets saying, hey, prepare for this Tuesday and then post a picture of a 6. Like, they don't have to do any of that. They could drop it literally at like 5 in the morning, Eastern time, and it'll still get like 40 million views in an hour. Because that's GTA. But anyway, it's going to be a good year for gaming. I think, too many people getting their feelings, man, when it comes to, the gaming situation at the minute, because people like Logan, we won't mention names, but we've both seen people lose the absolute mind this past year over video gaming.
Yeah, it's been insane. Yeah, like you, like I had some people that I had been friends with for years on here that all of a sudden, just because of some changes, like it was almost like Anakin Obi-Wan, like if you're not with me, then you're against me. And it was like, well, okay, that escalated quickly. Um and yeah, it's just wild and insane. Am I thrilled by everything Xbox is doing? No. Do I still think they should keep a few exclusive franchises like the quote unquote trinity of, Halo Gears, either Forza, Fable, whatever you want to put there as a third slot? Yes. But, it just doesn't seem like that's what they're going to do. And no matter how much people kick or scream about it, it just doesn't seem to be going to change their mind. So not going to put my effort or energy worrying about it, wasting time with it. Just going to go, okay, I'll focus on other efforts to get them to improve other things I want for the platform, like more backwards compatibility. I will continue to beat that door down. Like, I want more. And then also, like, more cloud games, more horror games, resurrect some older franchises, even if there's only 10 of us that want Banjo or some of these other games. Please, just do it.
Yep.
And, just be polite and respectful, but let your voices be known. And just enjoy gaming. Gaming's for fun.
Yep. I think that it's weird because like so many people get in their feelings about this stuff, and at the end of the day, we're just meant to enjoy these video games. You know, like too many people get actually angry at other people. Like look, we've heard them on Twitter, we've seen them. Some people will post a tweet, be angry for an hour or two. Some people will have like hours of what do you call those Twitter live streams? Spaces.
Spaces.
Yeah,
Oh my gosh, those are toxic.
yeah.
My goodness.
Like I haven't really joined many like spaces in the past, but
Don't.
the ones I have, like it's just people. It's phone audio as well. It's not microphone audio. It's people yelling into their phone, console war stuff. Like I remember, I think it was the day after the summer showcase Microsoft had last year, and it was just a bunch of random people yelling at each other. like we're on the cusp of some really cool game releases, and people are just angry on the internet at each other. Like it's not real. Like I wasn't going to mention this, but I will. There's people I've never interacted with on Twitter, right? And they will make new accounts and follow me. Make new accounts and follow me, and I don't know why. Like this has been going on for years. Like there's something about the video game industry and the medium that it just causes people to get like really like nasty about it. Like back in the day, again making myself sound like an old fart. People used to be like, who's better, Mario, Sonic, or Crash Bandicoot, and that was it. But now you have full-on adults arguing on Twitter or Facebook or Threads, Blue Sky, anything. Like people are arguing back and forth all the time, not enjoying these hobbies. Like the reason why we have these gaming podcasts, the reason I make gaming content, videos, the reason why a lot of people make videos and do podcasts and stuff, because we enjoy gaming. But like too many people clearly forget that. Whether it's someone making,
Where is the game?
yeah, like whether it's someone losing their marbles because a game has been announced, whether it's someone losing their marbles online because a game hasn't been announced. Like the gaming space is perpetual negativity reinforced by people's doubts and worries. And that's not why we play video games. like I had a smile on my face today when I was playing Death Stranding because like it was so uniquely weird. I'll probably post a cutscene on Twitter later. Um, like it is so bizarre, that game. It doesn't make sense. Like I have footage going on right now. Like what the hell is this? There's a guy with a gold face and he's shaking. Doesn't make any sense. Apparently
Yeah.
corpses in this game go nuclear. That's a thing apparently. you know, um, but like it's so weird. Like, and I think too many people just like maybe the in it for the money and they just like to argue all the time. But man, like I feel like gaming would have like less drama if people took a step back and just stop reinforcing the negativity. Like the clickbait, as annoying as it is, yes, you do have outlets like IGN and Eurogamer and stuff where they get paid to do that stuff, right? Like if I make a video or if anyone else makes a video about a gaming topic, right? If it's negative, you're guaranteed more views. And I hate that's where gaming's at the minute. That's why I try and stay away from that stuff. But like it just seeps down to everything, you know, Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, social media in general. Like everything is just negativity, and it's annoying. It's really annoying. You know, like Logan, like I'm a fairly like how should I put it? I'm not going to say stoned. People have accused me for being stoned, but by the way, because I'm such a mellow person, like I have such a relaxed outlook on things that people have thought I've been stoned. Can't be.
Yeah, I've had the same, and I'm like, I've never actually touched that before.
Yeah,
So
it is funny when people say that though, but it's like I have a very like calm demeanor. Like Logan, you have a calm demeanor as well. Like people just really need to like stop getting in their feelings about stuff, and it's just video games. And I see it in other forms of media. Like I see iPhone guys and Android guys go at each other on Twitter, and like
it's hilarious.
you're arguing about the phone in your pocket. Who cares? Like, and then you have the movie people that are constantly complaining about stuff. You know, like that Fantastic Four trailer that got dropped today. I thought it looked fine. And obviously, people were losing their marbles. But that's what everything's like now. Everything's rage bait, right? A game is announced, people get angry, people try and find things to complain about. Not, why they're going to enjoy it, why they're looking forward to it. Everything's just complaining all the time. Anyway, that's me rambling for like half an hour. Logan, have you got anything else to say before we close out the show?
Just basically that I'm happy that Horizon is, going out to new horizons because it's the best racer out there. Like everybody can experience it now and it's fantastic. Get more money for that and they can put it towards Fable, maybe polish that up some more, add some more content, speed up development on that. Like at the end of the day, my ideal world would be games are everywhere, like from everybody, and there's just different publishers and studios and stuff. And then you play on devices based on. I know people tore Phil a new one over his last few interviews, and I get it. People are just not happy with anything he says anymore. And I don't entirely blame them for feeling certain ways sometimes. But the idea of people choosing a console based on the console's merit itself, I think, is what it should be about. It should be that, hey, this device gives me backwards compatibility, smart delivery, a really good controller, access to all these apps for movies, other stuff. Like, it's my all in shop, entertainment shop. And I like the UI, I like being able to play my stuff on the go with cloud. Like, this is the ecosystem for me, so that's why I'm on this. Just like cars or phones. Like, there's luxury brand cars, there's economy brand cars, there's middle of the road cars, there's exotic cars, phones, there's iPhone this model, which is bare bones iPhone, versus this is the souped up Megamax iPhone. And then you've got, all these Android phones. It's just, but at the end of the day, they all have apps and they all make a phone call and send text. So that's the ideal world, and I think we are heading towards that. It's just some are kicking and screaming about it, and it is what it is.
Yeah. You know what's funny? The phone reference thing got me thinking, like, everyone that argues about mobile phones, right? They use literally the same apps. And there's no benefit.
Just different store.
Yeah, like if I were to go to my like screen time on my phone right now, it would literally say Twitter, Threads, Blue Sky, Safari, and the Notes app. I love the Notes app. I use that thing literally every few hours. And like, there's no difference from that from someone using it on like an Android or what once was a Windows phone. Um, like, yeah, the argument doesn't make any sense at all. And the main reason I'm on an iPhone is because that's where my music is. Like, I have a lot of
Amen. Same
yeah,
reason.
I have a lot of iTunes music. I have a lot of owned apps. I will never forgive iOS and Apple for removing the ability to play 30 hertz apps, because that's why you can't play any of your old iPhone games, because they
I
changed it.
miss Infinity Blade.
Yeah. Oh my God, Infinity Blade was so good, so good. Like,
Throwback,
yeah,
but it just made me think about it.
yeah. That was the era of good mobile phone games. Like, I'd say like in the mid 2010s, like developers start making, hey, you just have to make these games where you match 3 duels. Like, that was it. But like beforehand, like, you had BioShock came to iPad. There was a Deus Ex game on iOS. Like its own Deus Ex game. There was a Dead Space game on iOS. There was a Mass Effect third-person shooter on iOS. You can't play them at all anymore. But Infinity Blade, that was such a cool game. And for people that don't know, I've told Logan this before, there was a full working and complete version of Infinity Blade for the Xbox One, and it was canned by Epic.
This is heartbreaking
Yeah,
news.
I hate, yeah, Flappy Birds. Flappy Birds is coming
Angry
back.
Birds.
Yeah, Angry Birds. But when it comes to Flappy Birds, by the way, that game is coming back apparently. There was a time when that developer was making $50,000 a day just off the ads.
That's a good gig.
Yeah, and he pulled it because he felt guilty about the things people were saying about the green pipes. Okay, like, what a weird turn of events. But yeah, but this isn't a phone app podcast. Don't know why I'm talking about this, but yeah, I just wanted to talk about all this stuff because I love talking about gaming. I could talk for hours about it, evidently. But like, I roll my eyes every time I open social media and like I see these articles. Like IGN, they one of the biggest culprits. Like, they know what they're doing. You know, the way you word things, everything is just forced negativity. And I've told Logan this. I've told Boomstick this. I've told a lot of people this. Right. Next time you go to IGN or you see an IGN article in their feed, right? Notice you won't see news for games that it's not a leak, it's not a rumor, and it's not rage bait. Like, back in the late 2000s and early 2010s, very early 2010s, like, gaming news articles were gaming news. Hey, this cool feature is coming to Borderlands 2. Hey, this cool expansion is coming to Assassin's Creed 2. Like, all that stuff. Now it's constant rage bait fueled by negativity. And like, every article is like this. News doesn't exist anymore. It's leaks, rumors, rage bait. And I can't stand that stuff. Anyway, today has been the episode of me reminiscing and whining a lot. We won't have this next week. Depending on what happens, who knows. Anyway, everyone in chat has been amazing once again. We'll be back the same time next week. The link to my previous video is in the description down below. 20 biggest games coming to Xbox in 2025. That video was actually meant to be out a month ago, but due to my bronchitis, I've had no voice half the time. So if you want to support, watch it, liking, all that stuff really does help with the algorithm and that stuff. Let me know what you're looking forward to in the comments down below. And also, I'll have a video coming out hopefully tomorrow, which I won't say what it is, but again, it would have been out earlier if it wasn't for the bronchitis. Damn that bronchitis. Anyway, we're back the same time next week. Our social links in the description down below. We are out, everybody. Peace.